In this video, I'm going to give you guys breakdowns, formulas, methods to try to make Guardian Cell as painlessly as possible. Look in the description for the important videos you need to watch so you can understand this video, because I'm not going to break down every little thing. So yeah, if you haven't seen the video where I personally made Guardian Cell, look above my head or in the description. If you want to see the formula that I had to do personally because I fucked up here and there, you can look above my head or in the description. Anyways, let's make Guardian Cell. If you really want to be low risk about this and not try to put any other abilities on it, you can do what it is. Like, you can just try to make it with the bare, like, just have it in itself at a one slot. That's it. You might be saying, Morph, isn't that bad? Yes and no. Now, if you've seen my video talking about the ability transfer process, you can easily push this to a high slot number. It may not be the best method, and it may take a long time for you to do, especially if you don't have like certain pop items. But it is possible. So if I want to just gamble with a one-slot Guardian Soul, I can. And then I can start using pop items and use my ability transfer passes to get it to most likely 6 slot, 7 slot, possibly an 8 slot on a unit. And how? Using these pop items. Now this also depends on if you have all these different types of pop items. Because you can pop. If I wanted to emphasize on like the power, just S attack on power, I can just have Guardian Cell, use a pop item for a power 6, use a pop item for a max, use a pop item for grand power, use a pop item to get Astral Soul, not Astral Soul, Ether Factor, use a pop item to get Mana Rev, use a pop item to get Sentence ability, and then I can just slap on an S-Class ability. Like, boom, I just made an 8 slot. Now, the Sentence ability isn't that great, and once again, this is using up a lot of passes, and you slowly doing a lot of manipulations here and there, so you could try to get to that point where it becomes that 8 slot. And not only that, when it comes to 2 of the items I just listed, this is from the mission badge with Psycho Shop. You're gonna need a whopping 240 medals to get those 2 pop items. So it will take some time, or it depends on your approach and how you go about it. But you can technically do this and then work your way up to have those abilities. Personally, for me, I wouldn't do this sort of approach. I'm just saying it because that is a thing now, because ability transfer is that good and slowly building it up. It's just that you might want some other abilities as well, not just like Guardian Soul, because once you start doing the ability transfer process, it's with the finalized affix. So if you wanted to slap in a crack 5 or a returner 5, it's not possible because you are working with a finalized unit piece already. So let's say you want to have a crack 5 or returner ability, then you can work with low slot numbers. Now, instead of, okay, so I'll have to make this in separate panels. If you want to view this for yourself, I will have a link in the description. So instead of having all of these things, let's say you want to try to have a just maybe a two slot or 3 slot. Let's go with 2 slot for now for this demonstration. So instead of having like these cracks onto these finalized affix, if you want to play it safe, what you can do is pretty much have something like this. Now, they don't need to be at a 3 slot. They can be at a 2 slot, but it depends on the market and the pieces that you have. Pretty much what you can do is finalize like 3 of the 4 abilities you need, so you don't need to worry about putting as much on them. And then for one of them, you might want to try to, combine a crack 4 onto it with like an Astral Soul maybe. And then the other 2 fodder pieces, you can just have like crack 4 over there. And then guess what? You can just do something like this. And with the 50% boost and you using a 40%, your chances are 65-75. And guess what? Using what I stated with the ability transfer process, now you have something that fills up 2 of these slots, like Guardian Soul and Crack 5. Use a pop item, you can use Grand Power, use a pop item again, get the Mark ability, use a pop item again, get like a grade 6 ability, use a pop item again, you can get Astral Soul, use another pop item. I mean, no, not Astral Soul, Mana Rev. And then use another pop item, Ether Factor. You got a 7 slot right there. 8 slot if you decide to put an S-Class ability. So yeah, like, there's multiple ways to approach this. Maybe you want to try to emphasize on a bunch of these. So instead of just having crack, maybe you want returner as well, just to emphasize on those different multipliers. So what I can do is pretty much try to get a crack 4 somewhere. Let's say, since it's expensive to try to manipulate with crack 4, instead of having this combination with returner and crack, maybe I want to have the crack 4 on like a mana rev instead, or on an Ethifactor. Then I can do something like, oh wait, shit, what am I missing? One of these things have to have another returner. That's a lot of crack. No, you don't need that many crack. You need 3 and 3 somewhere. So yeah, what I could do is Guardian Soul returner and then a crack 5 at a 3 slot. And then what I could do, use a 40 or 45, add a 15. If it succeeds, bada bing, bada boom, you can use a 4-slot protection to make sure it succeeds. And then guess what? If you have like crack 5 or Turner 5 and Guardian Soul, pop item for Ethifactor, pop item for Mana Rev, and then pop item for a Mark, pop item for a Grand. That's a 7-slot right there without even having to get that grade S ability. Like, this is also all-rounder because if you use like, well, other than the Grand is questionable. But unless you use like Offense Intent 2, which is the Star Gem that emphasizes on a bunch of attacks, like plus 25 and actually, you're over here. Where are you? There is an offense. Yeah, Offense Focus 2. I forgot how much that gives by itself. It's plus 25 in SRT attack, and I think plus 40 in Dex and a bit of PP. But yeah, you can do that instead, and then it's going to give you a bunch of these multipliers instead. So yeah, like, you can do this approach as well. For me, I know that my next fix is going to have... Oh wait, I said I was going to do this on fucking different panels. I forgot to do that. Let me just fix that up right now. If you guys are interested, once again, you can look in the description for this link. Okay, yeah, of course it's going to start doing something like that. And then you can just have that over there instead, that over there instead, for this one. So you can just have something like this. Also, it's not as bad to upslot like at a low thing, but if you plan to do that, make sure it's something good, not just a junk ability. So yeah, that's like at a 2-slot with crack 5. This is just having ignoring that boost, like just having 3 of them over there instead. And then the one that I have in mind is having Absolute Glare, because I want to emphasize on all these stats. And if there's a pop item for Mana Rev, I can easily get that in due time. There's no cooldown for the pop item. It's just that you need to make sure you have the currency, which is like 120 medals, to try to go for it. So this is gonna be a pain in the butt. Like, I could easily do this, but then I had to explain the breakdown for it. Joys. Alright, so, yeah, that's how it looks, but let me fine-tune this, because if I don't, then it's gonna be a pain in the butt to actually do this, which is, like... So, best way to approach this one, for example, is if... Alright, I'll come back to this one later. We'll talk about that one later. So, let me mention if you have that 3-slot already, or the Mana Rev Ethifactor Astral Soul combo already. Let me get those in here. So, if you already got something like this, you can work with it, and you would most likely want to try to keep Ethifactor if possible. Yeah, you want to keep something like this. The mistake that I did was the fact that I had to redo everything. You don't want to try to redo everything. So, the best thing to do is try to finalize that absolute glare with whatever you need to have on it. Now, if you want to try to transfer these final fixes with absolute glare, that's a lot of manipulation, and you gotta have to think about it. And if you're trying to keep this as well, or at least keep that ether factor, you will be most likely using a factor, factor receptor, and it might be stuck with a soul receptor. Like, if you could just get a factor receptor, that's great, but I think most of the ones that I saw in the Japanese PSO2 are stuck with the soul receptor, which equals a shit ton of money that you had to pay. I might be wrong. I need to check it again, because it does change every now and then. So yeah, you need absolute glare somewhere. So this is what I didn't realize, like the fact that you had to finalize it, and I can't really try to get a glare onto this or on this, so I'm stuck with like 3 open fodder pieces, but even then it's like I'm gonna have to actually do something to get rid of it, and then I had to try to manipulate a glare onto something that's workable. So if I want to, I could have no, not even then. That's a problem, because like Mana Rev is gonna disappear. Like the moment you get rid of Mana Rev, it's gonna be you remaking it again, which will cost a bit more. Like if you finalize it, you want to make sure you don't really need to manipulate it as much. But if you really want absolute glare, then you're gonna have to do what I did, which was to go through the process of getting rid of Mana Rev over here, put a glare in there instead, and then I had to remake a Mana Rev with a glare catalyst. That's a pain in the butt to do. So if you were just, if you don't care much about absolute glare, for example, like you could just do something like this to save the time and effort. And then I would need to do something with this. And then this is where I could do something like that. I had 3 slot pusher to well, you can try to get now this is at a 3 slot. Like if you have it finalized, you would want to keep it, but if you really want to try to make Guardian Soul with absolute gear and or a Mana Rev, you're gonna have to do a redo again, a manipulation sorts, because or you're gonna have to manipulate a lot of things. Like, if I want to get Mana Rev, it is actually possible with this. It's just that, it's going to be reverse syncing like the last one that I did. So, with a Reverie Catalyst, like, this is something that you will have to do. And then you can get rid of that, but then now you need a Mega. I think it's over here. Yeah, then you could do something like this. Because, wow, it's a pain in the butt. There is actually a way to get the fucking, absolute glare as well. I'll discuss that in a bit. So what you can do is now you can go for Guardian Soul, Ether Factor, Mana Rev, and then Crack 5 with this. You can replace Crack 5 with a Returner. Depends on which one you want to go for. You're dealing with those percentages, but with 50% and then a 40%, you will have decent numbers to work with compared to what I did when I fixed this thing. But yeah, the problem is trying to get this, trying to get some of these. Like this one, for example, this one's a huge headache because you'll be gambling. Now, if you want to decrease the chance of that, you might want to do something like this instead, which is to have the Crack 5 with these, but it's not better because they're still stuck at a 10%. This is just like you going through a bunch of fucking hell. You can technically plan this piece out before you go through this thing, so you can get rid of a crack, but ultimately it's up to you to configure that one. Depends on how you want to approach it. Now, I was thinking about this formula, and I realized you could actually pull off making absolute glare and having absolute glare already finalized. So what you would need to do, though, is because this is a catalyst, you're going to have absolute glare with a glare catalyst. And then I would have that over there instead, have that, and then have this here. Then you need a photonic glare instead. And it has something like that, and then boom, you can go for guiding cell, Factor, absolute glare, and crack 5. But yeah, you're gonna have to finalize an absolute glare and then get a gamble on a glare catalyst to try to get this piece. You will most likely want to use a 4-slot protection, so you might as well try to like get a crack 4 onto this piece instead. Try to lessen the load on maybe something like this. Or it depends on how you want to approach it. It's just that if you got something finalized like this Astral at the Factor Mana Rev, then you would want to try not to remake stuff again. But if you really want it, then you will most likely do what you need to do. If you want to ignore all of that though, okay, yeah, I had to manipulate that one. Oh, motherfucker, I deleted it. So let me fix this up again for you guys. No, photonic glare is over here. Get rid of that shit. Get rid of this. Then get, what is it? Glare catalyst. Then I need another one here. Then yeah, this is the one with absolute glare that you can make. This one's with the Mana Rev one. And then if I were to copy this is the button I want to hit on. Like if you just want to try to get at the fact that you transfer over, then you might not need to worry about it as much. Maybe you don't want to try to make an absolute glare or at the factor. Maybe you would want I don't know, maybe a returner ability instead. And just work with that one instead. So how would this work? Yeah, you might need to do a combination of crack and returner. Might be cheaper to actually have that over there instead. And to do something like this. And then you can go Guardian Cell Returner at the Factor. Oh, it's a 2-slot. That's why I was like, why aren't you going to a 4? Because that's not at the 4-slot. And then you could do something like this. Use a 40, 50, whatever percent boost you got. And then gamble, try to get it to work. But yeah, that's how you can get that. Then you can use pop items to get Mana Rev. You wouldn't need a pop item to get at the Factor, because you already have it there. You can go for something else instead, like a Mark, Grand, Sentence, Offense, S-class abilities. But yeah, these are the different approaches that you can do. The simplest one is just try to get Guardian Soul by itself and then do a lot of ability transfer and get a lot of pop items to slowly build up to the slot number that you want. But that does take some time depending on if you have a lot of ability transfer passes, and then if you have a bunch of pop items. This one's more of the safe approach. Well, did I have a 2-slot one? Yeah, this one's more of a safe approach just because like it does give you something along with Guardian Soul. It's not going to require a lot of you doing a bunch of manipulation to try to get it. Something like this, it does get a bit into a lot of manipulation, but in the end, it's like if you really want something like this, then you can, and then use a bunch of ability transfer process and add process stuff. If you want to go for 4-slots and whatnot, you can do it. It's just that it will take a lot of manipulation here and there. This one, for example, was the Guardian Soul at the Factor crack in 5. And if you already got like a unit piece that's already finalized and you can get some of the things that you want, then go for it. If you really want to try to get something else, like something like this, where you already have the absolute glare in the formula, it's just that you want to make it again, or you want to make a Mana Rev instead, you can do a lot of manipulation with that. And then you got something like this where it's like straightforward. Like you're not gonna worry about mana rev or absolute glare. You'll use what you need, and then you just do this and make sure that you carry the ether factor as well. It depends on your budget, depends on your approach. For me personally, I would make sure that if I have a unit piece that's already finalized with 3 of the 4 abilities, I try to transfer most of the abilities towards what I need to do. So I would definitely want to try to get at the factor to transfer over. Now, if I haven't made a 3-slot unit piece or a 3-slot weapon that have all 3 of those abilities, Astral Soul, Mana Rev, Ether Factor, then I will have it broken down like this and then just manipulate it as I see fit, and it'll be a lot easier compared to doing like massive sort of manipulation around something that's already finalized. Like I had to think on these things, like and the fact that I want to try to get Ether Factor as well, that's just me restraining myself and like putting a huge damper on what I can fully do with something like this, where I have the freedom to actually manipulate it as I see fit. Not as bad compared to something that's already finalized, and it's like, oh god, I have to try to get it to work and stuff. So yeah, that's it. If you got any questions, comment, concerns, put it down below. I give you guys some possible formulas, and hopefully you start to buy your stuff, because I'm making sure that I buy it before Fix Week comes around, because I know some of you guys might want to try to do this. So yeah, I got competition, but I'm making sure that I play smart with the damn market and try not to spend as much. This time around, I did make sure I planned it out for my 6th slot. I'll see you guys at the next one. Let me know if you plan to make it. Let me know if you are going to go for these crazy formulas like me. So, yeah.